move into welcome everyone to the May 26th Revitalization Trust Fund meeting. The Revitalization Trust Fund, in compliance with the order that allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded, so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. That we are acting according to that. Ensuring public access does not ensure that public participation can be part of it, unless it is unless such participation is required by law. And see, please note that this meeting is being recorded, and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer or broadcast anything that you would not want captured by the recording. So from there, let's get started with our agenda. First update from Needham to the world. Actually, Eric, why don't you provide the update?
So finally, we are teed up, ready to go next week, Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. Hopefully it's a beautiful sunny day. Marcus is ready to go. He doesn't think it will be any hassle or take very much time. So I foresee it probably being up and him being out of there by lunch.
That's great. And
yeah.
And we, as my understanding from the emails, that no permit was required, that we can basically just cone off what we need for the time we need it, and we're good to go.
Yeah, should be no issue. And then one thing I did want to follow up, did we ever get any idea about the lighting from the property owner?
Well, yes, actually, we've got, in fact, it was supposed to be in a box that I opened today. There was supposed to be a framework that holds the LED lighting, that would basically mount it so that it can shine down across the windows and wash the windows with the light and, of course, the frame. But inside the box, all there was a catalog, and the frame that we were really looking for was not in the box. And the box was a little bit beat up. So I don't know whether somebody removed it from the box or something just didn't get coordinated in shipping. But they're basically just going to send us a section of the framework. There are 4-foot sections and there are 8-foot sections. If we can work by, and this is the reason I wanted to get the piece of it, if we can work by joining 2 4-foot sections, then there's very low shipping costs. If the only attractive and appropriate way is to use the 8-foot section to be able to do the several pieces, that it's $200 shipping. So that's why we wanted to sample to see if there's a way that we could work with this other one, and if we would look, if we can make it look perfect and nice. Then obviously that's a substantial savings. So I tried to reach out to them today, but couldn't reach them. So I'm going to call them back tomorrow morning and just say, hey, thanks for the box and the catalog, but how about the part that we actually needed? So I'm sure he's not aware that's happening, because I wasn't here to receive the box several days ago when it showed up. I didn't open it any sooner. So that, regardless of that, it won't slow down our ability to be able to put up the frame and install everything and so on.
Right. Because
this work can be done after the fact, and we're not going to be doing the dedication in the dark. So this is an enhancement that would happen after the fact if we can't get the frames in.
Follow-up question on that is, have you booked the dedication day yet? You said sometime around Father's Day, but is it penciled in yet?
Well, I sent out an email during last week to just confirm that the June 15th 15th. It's Father's Day. Is that the 19th or the 15th?
19th.
Yeah, so it's a Sunday.
Mhm.
So that June 19th is the date that the sponsor would like to be able to have for that. They're going to try to assemble. They've been working on assembling their family members. They have a really large family. So they've been reaching out to them to try to see how many of them would be able to come. But they're dispersed across the country, so it just depends if we can come. So one of the things that we want to talk about, since we now have confirming for that, and we know that the frame has been assembled on the backer board, and is ready to be installed, that we can now put together the announcement, so that if other people in the town want to come, that we can put that out through the channels. So that's where we're at. In fact,
Exciting.
yeah, I'll talk to Mary Ruth, but also Amy. What I'll do is we'll put together a little write-up for it, and then wherever you suggest it would be the best place to be able to put it out through your channel, that we would do that, and I would send it off to the chamber.
Yeah, we can certainly put it in the town's e-newsletter and put it as a news flash on the website. And also one more update. I did follow up with Sunita Williams because we had originally asked that she have the video already at this point. And I hadn't heard from her. So I just followed up, a sort of a gentle nudge and just said, you're busy is an understatement, but if this is still possible, we'd be so appreciative. And she was very apologetic and said absolutely else to do it. So I said if she could get us something by the end of the month, that would still give us ample time to be able to post it on wherever it needs to be, and then link the QR code, all that good stuff. So I'll keep you posted on that, but she is still planning on doing it.
That's great. Actually, that was the next thing on my list of questions to ask. So that's great. I'm sure that that she'll send it through, and I can link it quickly. So once I can do the download, that I can take care of that. So, and the QR code that is for that for the actual printed mural is already installed in the mural, so it doesn't require any.
Don't you have a plaque also?
Yes, and actually, one of the things that I've got to do, actually, there's another box that I received, and I think the plaque is in it, and so that's really good, because that's the wall-mounted plaque that we have for it. So that's shown. I just want to double check it to make sure that it's that everything looks like it's supposed to.
Is that like a glue to the wall, or do we want to bring that and have Marcos mount it too, so like we can choose a little,
Well, yeah, if he can, it actually is supposed to be pre-drilled in the four corners, so that it can be actually screwed into the sort of raised section to the right of where the recess is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's a great idea, because we can have him install it. I will make a note right here.
That way he walks out of there and we're all done.
Yeah.
Rather than just hanging up the banner.
Okay. Great. So I think that's any other things you can think of that are related to this?
No, I think it's nice to see this come to fruition almost finally.
Yeah, no, I'm totally psyched about it. And this is, and I know that the Heffernan family is really excited. I mean, it's, as I mentioned before, but Mike was the first sponsor to the Revitalization Trust Fund, they were the ones who sponsored the Once Upon a Time sculpture, which is the little boy and the little girl on the granite bench back in 1999. So first installed project. And it was through his friendship with Bud Roach that he connected Bud with me, and he said, "What can I do?" And I said, "We have this little sculpture thing that we, really would like to be able to do. What do you think about this?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll do that." So that's how the Circle of Peace ended up being, sponsored as I think it was the third or fourth installed project that we did. So yeah, it's a really great legacy of wonderful things that the family has gotten started, and so the celebration is multi-dimensional in terms of how we really feel about the project and the origins of the Revitalization Fund to begin. All right. So
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm sorry if I missed this somehow. When the unveiling happens and the original mural is up there, can you remind me what it's going to look like, or what? I just can't remember.
It's actually a combination. I would have pull it up at the moment, but I don't have it to quickly pull it up. But the mural has a sort of I guess you call it a collage of images from that are basically the things that show different elements of, in this particular case, Sunita Williams, the person who's being profiled through any of these, that has a collection of images that represent the things, the accomplishments they have, or the change they've created in the world. Then on the right-hand side, there is a gold bronze-colored box that is all embedded in the image that tells their story. And then below that, there is a QR code, which allows us to be able to link to either, in this particular case, Sunita's video, but a video or a website or whatever would allow people to be able to get more information about the person or more in-depth understanding of the person's life. We hope to do it with a video each time if we can, and obviously if a person who was good. Excellent.
Oh yeah.
So so that gives you an idea of what this looks like, and then what you don't see down here, because this is an earlier version of it, but everything is very similar. That underneath the plaque there is where the QR code.
Okay, so as I'm pulling together information for future people, do you plan to have that many images on each mural? Like, should I try to get 6?
Yeah, well, actually, in terms of the format, and this is a great question. That basically about if it depends on it depends on the person. There might be one or two more, or one less, or something like that, depending on what really represents the person's accomplishments. But one of the things that we're trying to be consistent with is, if you notice how Sunita is sort of front and center on the right-hand side there next to the plaque, that when you walk up to this, it's like the person is greeting. And that was the effect that we wanted to be able to have with this. And so that the consistencies here are the background, not the one with the moon, but if you look in the background, you can see it's basically the blue and the world. That whole image is the template, along with from Needham to the world at the bottom, and then this where the yellow lettering is here, telling the person's name. That whole piece, along with the box and the profile image, are basically the template that all future ones will have. In fact,
Okay.
one of the reasons we wanted to be able to do it that way, and then you could just, and then the images would be basically arranged on that palette based on the size and what kind of things that they were representing to create a balanced look, which Seymour has has worked on for doing this one and the next one, which is actually the future Bob Life. So,
and you expect, or the plan is to turn these over every 6 months, I think you said last time. Is that what we have in mind?
well, what we did is when we did the sponsorship, we included the costs of being able to produce 2 of these, saying that the minimum we want to turn them over is every 6 months. But but from this point on, we'll be out soliciting sponsors for the next one. And when we do that, if we have enough sponsors to change it quarterly, which would be ideal, then we will. But we didn't want to, overpromise and underdeliver. We wanted to be able to say, assume that it's 6 months, and if the town is enthusiastic about being able to, have a regular rotation of these, then we would do it on a quarterly basis, and the reality is that we don't want to go any shorter than quarterly, because we want to make sure that whoever sponsors this gets at least 3 months worth of visibility and recognition for their sponsorship. And we want enough time for people to to scroll by it and be able to read it and enjoy it and get the experience of it too. So that's basically it.
Good.
But say, I would assume that when you're doing the research, and by the way, I want to say, thank you tremendously for taking this on. I think it's incredibly cool the way you've been approaching this and really, digging in to be able to understand, the background of the person, and even doing a little sleuthing, in other ways to be able to make sure that the content and the relevance to Needham and the details of the person's life are being actively represented through this.
Oh, you're welcome. It's fun, actually. It's fun to do.
Well, that's great. That's great. Actually, one of the things that Jessica found was that we were looking at, well, I'll let you tell the story. Tell us what you found when you were looking at the 2 future ones that we found.
Yeah, I'm going to grab it because I don't want to. At Paul's suggestion, I started out with 2 people. One is a jazz trumpeter who teaches at Berkeley named Toru Tiger Okoshi, who has lived in Needham with his wife since 1982, and has a really interesting life. Moved here, or came to the United States with his wife after he got married. They took Greyhound buses across the country from LA to Boston. They really loved Boston, so they stayed. And it's a great story about, he's sort of immersed in the world of jazz trumpet, and he's done a lot of interesting things and worked with some really well-known great musicians. He's played the national anthem at Fenway Park. He's got a long list of interesting things that he's done, and he lives here in Needham, which I'm sure most people may not know. So that was really interesting. And since he's lived in Needham since 1982, that seemed like a good candidate. The other person we were thinking about was a woman named Catherine Lee Bates, who lived from 1859 to 1929. She was a college professor at Wellesley College, and what she's most known for is for writing America the Beautiful, which later was set to music, and obviously, a patriotic song that we often often sing. And her life was really interesting too, but what I found was her connections to Wellesley were really a lot stronger than her connection to Needham, which was kind of tenuous. So we probably won't use,
I
we
went
probably
to
won't go
Catherine Lee
forward.
Bates Elementary School.
In Wellesley?
Yeah.
You went there?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I learned about her at an early age, but yeah, she is more Wellesley, I would think, than Needham.
Yeah, Wellesley and even Falmouth, like her family, a lot of her family, you know, when she was little, I guess lived in Falmouth, but not much connection to Needham. So I think probably we will find somebody else. But I've got a great list of people here, interesting people that either grew up in or lived in or live in Needham now. So
That's great. Yeah, no, that's, and I think when I was doing a quick count of the numbers, there's 68 people on the list that we have at the moment. So
one thing I'm
yeah,
going to have to figure out is how to get those images, because you know you can Google images and find plenty of them. I don't know how you, maybe someone else here knows, or maybe I just need to figure this out. If you like an image and you want to use it, how do you make sure you're not violating any copyright, or how do you know get an image that's good enough to be used in this manner, and also that you're not violating any copyrights? I'm not really sure how to do that, but
well, here, what I can tell you, the way that we've done the other ones is that we give the regular resolution images to Seymour, and then he goes into Getty Images. He goes into the paid for thing, and we buy the rights to the image in high resolution.
okay.
So it's included in the cost of what we do, and our use of those images is in line with the guidelines as to how you can use this image, even if you buy the rights to be able to use it under these circumstances. So that's
Okay.
basically how it works. We do it the old-fashioned way, pay for it, so that we're not in violation. So, but that's how it works. So you find the most interesting images that are most representative, and then we'll do some second layer of work to be able to find those images, hopefully they exist in a high resolution film.
Is there another mural that's already behind Sunita Williams in line, or do we actually need a new one to come next after Sunita Williams?
No, actually, we've already had the work has already been done on
Okay.
one for Robert Larson. And Robert
Okay.
Larson has been has lived in the town for decades, and he has. In fact, if I remember correctly, I should remember this. I think Bob grew up. Yes, in fact, he did grow up. So he went off to the service, and he was he has a just a really interesting story about the things that he's done. He's also from a direct Needham standpoint that for at least I think 2 decades or more that he was the artist for every Needham phone book, or almost, not everyone, but almost all the Needham phone books, cover art. He was the cartoonist for the Needham Times, and did a whole series of those types of things. He has done things for the Old Ironsides celebrations in Boston. He was the designer of the actual carved Minuteman that is on the memorial stone for Needham soldiers that's at Memorial Field. And I mean, the list goes on. He's done the 1711 building, which we just turned over. He designed that in working with Seymour Levy. So, and he's been on a variety of different committees throughout the town. He's done things that to be able to help in countless ways of contribution. And he lives at Wingate 1. So really looking forward to be able to have him see this come into fruition, and as a as a celebration of things, the tremendous things he's contributed to Needham and to the world through his art. So yeah, we do have money. But it's already been designed and it's already gone through design review and all that. So we're good for the first two. That's why the intention was to be able to give us enough in the in the process so that we could develop the other profiles and have a lead time to be able to do it and not being under pressure to do it. So you've got you can take the time you need to be able to get the work on the profiles, and as we put those things together, that we would basically build up the list and collect the images so we could stay ahead of it. And if we end up being able to do for 3 or 4 years, then we can easily stay ahead of the game by putting together the information.
Great.
Yep.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Let's see. Brad, as I said, was tied up on a board meeting, which was going to run over into this meeting. So he, I replied back to him and he told me that and said, can you please send me at least an update as to where you're at in terms of the organizing volunteers, who's going to work with the schools to be able to try to put together a group of volunteers to be able to do the cleanup on Charles River Street. So we're still, working in a very focused way to be able to get that accomplished. Obviously, we're coming into the season when people could do that kind of work. And the thing we just have to do is make sure that we, come up with a labor force to work in conjunction with the DPW to be able to go out and safely do that cleanup. So I'll be back following up with him as to what kind of progress he's made, and so we run into any snags or anything, so we can just keep it moving, even if we have to look for other resources. Other banner sponsors. One of the things that, well, number one is this coming month, we just had we had community council, which we talked about at last meeting, that got their banner created and was on display the prior month. We've had the Charles River Center, and now we're moving into June, which is Pride Month, and so the Needham Diversity Initiative is created a banner last year, or the banner was created last year in conjunction with them, that will be going up in the next few days, sometime between now and the 31st. That'll be up for the month of June, and that, if you remember, it's incredibly eye-catching, multicolor banner that just looks really cool. So, the Needham Open Studios, which is up now on River, that they created a very unique presentation by having basically a template of the framework that's on the banner, so they all have the consistency, but they changed the image that's in the center, and so that had a unique feel to it. And it's great when the different organizations will all do something that's uniquely interesting visually, as well as being able to obviously put out the word for either the event that they're doing or to raise awareness of what their organization does. And so it's a really useful and a program for both those things, being able to create visual art within the downtown and to create awareness of these different organizations, because we have so many great community organizations. So that one's going up. The farmers market did not want to sponsor this for this season because they said the banner says on the bottom on Garrity Way, but they're over at Green's Field.
Oh, yeah.
So they felt that basically for this year that they would just not sponsor it. It's the first time they've done it since the pandemic program. But I totally understand. And I think one of the things that I think is important for the organizations to remember is that it creates a visual awareness that helps people go, oh yeah, that's starting. So, but I do get the fact that it does have that little text on it. So that's basically all. It's after that. But we have our Leave a Legacy banner, which is going up in its place, which we have specifically to be able to fill in when we don't, if we don't have a sponsor for it. And the NDI, because as we had defined that any individual organization could do up to 2 different banners. That's in October. NDI is right in the process now of designing a new banner, which is very much about, from what they described to me, they haven't seen, they haven't created it yet, but they're trying to be able to get raise awareness for the town of all the different diversity focused things that they do. So it's not just about Needham Pride or any individual group that needs to be represented, but that they work in many different areas to be able to do this, and they want to try to come up with a way of raising the awareness of the many different things that NDI does to really help people have better understandings among each other. So they're coming up. So that'll be a brand new sponsorship for them. So that's what we have. We also have the Carnival Banner, which will be coming back again. And one of the great things about the Symbols of Pride program, we were talking about Chapel Street Banner Showcase, but the Symbols of Pride program, which in the past has included the 4th of July banner, up to the last 2 years, basically since 2020, that they're back on. The event is back on, and the Exchange Club has voted to be able to have their banner redisplayed. So that sponsorship has come back in. That will go up on June 15th, the day after Flag Day. And those banners are small and large banners, so it's a full display from Needham Heights to the Chestnut Street to the downtown and so on, both small and large banners. So those will all be going up. And then when we get to the day, a couple of days before the Friday before the actual 4th of July weekend, that the large banners come down, the American flags go up in their place, and the American flags remain displayed on all the small poles as they were, with the small banners still standing in place. Because we have to work with 2 different sizes. This is the way that we've been able to sort of maximize the visibility and be able to accommodate both the up and down of the American flags and the banners. So yeah, so we've got the number of spots, and Needham Open Studios. They're on display right now, and they came back, because they could do their event again. So this is a good thing. We've been getting more of our sponsors to come back and help support us, and because they can actually do the things that they, were designing things for. So it's very positive. Mary Ruth, with she has put together a group of the bios. All of you had gotten an email from her about being able to put together a little bio. So it's basically sort of meet the committee kind of thing that she wanted to do as a kickoff, which is what we talked about a couple of meetings ago. And so those profiles have been assembled. She's now created a document for me to now take that, and she's got some images that we're going to get paired with this, and she's going to, and then I'm going to, because she's very busy, and I understand how to use the program itself, that rather than her try to squeeze in the learning curve to be able to get it up to speed right at the moment, she's giving me the content, and now I'm going to put it into the template and get the first draft prepared. So when we have that, as soon as we have that, we don't have a meeting we have a meeting in June. So for that meeting, we should have a working document for the first kickoff of the newsletter, as well as plans for what's going to be coming in successive newsletters, and something you guys can all see. I'm hoping prior to that meeting. In other words, we'll send you out a link to be able to see this as the first pass, so that you can take a look at it, make comments, and make recommendations on anything that you think that we could do to tweak it, and basically that's what will happen. So between now and the next meeting, I'll have merged that stuff in, and then we'll send you a link to be able to check it out and provide feedback. And just for an FYI on that, that's on during July, we don't meet. So we want to get this thing off the ground, so the newsletter can start to circulate. Obviously it's coming up to people's emails, and even though we're going into the summer, this is basically an awareness campaign. So people may have more leisure time to actually read more of the things that we put out, or watch a video, or do things like that while they're sitting on the beach somewhere. So when we roll into September, the hope is that there'll be a much greater awareness of what we're doing, and so when we go out and and ask for sponsorships or donations as we run into the September through December period, that we've sort of done the runway for some of them. So, any other comments or thoughts about the newsletter? Any other things that I should make sure I connect up with Mary Ruth about?
No.
All right. And because we've been working on this project, I said this last month, we've been really focused on trying to be able to get this installed project in place. We haven't had time to be able to really. There's a number of things that are involved in the T-Mobile grant, and that we need to put together to even see if we'll qualify, to be in the running. Honestly, I just haven't had time to be able to pull together some of the things that we need to be able to do that. But during the month of June, I'm going to be focusing on being able to get that together, and sending out some of the requests for the support letters that we need for that program. And so I'll this is basically sitting in my lap, and I'm going to do everything I can to be able to get it out of my lap and back into Marcus's, so we can so he can keep pushing the thing forward. Let's see. Rockland Trust, haven't heard anything back from them about their last meeting. I said that they had reached out, said they were going to try to be able to put together something from their own branch funds to be able to just sort of do put in something that would sort of kick off the funding and sponsorship of the Ridge Hill Wall Mural. But I haven't heard anything from them, so I'm going to follow up and just say, hey, it's been about 4 to 6 weeks now. Can you just let me know what's possible if you can, and any other suggestions you might have, to be able to help you, support the program. So I'll send out an email next day or so to be able to take care of that updated. I told you about the Exchange Club banner. The decision is going forward. We've submitted to the select board and to the design review the two pieces that we talked about. One is the applique that would go on the wall for the art gallery wall, so that we can get people connecting. Here's what the image would look like. If you sponsor this program, this is what you will see. The same thing with a banner for Square Plaza. So both of those have been approved. We've done some updating in the image to be able to get it. And when I went to design review with this, they, I told them one of the modifications that we're going to be making is to just get the image that is going to represent how the gallery looks to be, in fact, as close to not just a concept drawing, but as close to photorealistic of what it would actually look like. And Seymour has made some changes to be able to do that. We're waiting for finding a fixture that exists that we can take the image of and actually install it into that diagram, so it really will look like very close to what we expect for the final product. And we also did some tweak based on design reviews comment. Did some tweaking on the actual sign that says Square Gallery to be able to get the sizing of the letter and so on within the range of what they would feel is appropriate in terms of size. So those modifications are being done right now. And by our next meeting, I should have an image, if not before, that is ready to go into production for both the wall applique as well as the banner for the square. Because everything in the format of both of them are going to be identical. It's just that we've updated the center image of what the wall really looks like, so that we make sure that we're very much representing exactly what people do and expect to see them. On another note, I've been in conversation with the MFA and have been moving my way through different departments. I went to Matthew Teitelbaum, the director of the MFA. Thought that the concept of being able to do a suburban art interaction, participation in that was very interesting. He passed it on to his two of his teams. I've been following up with them, and with they each have different segments within the MFA that focus on different things. And what we're looking to do here is maybe first and foremost is to just have essentially a licensing agreement to be able to, for them to be able to provide images to us. And because those are obviously those legal responsibilities that they have to the art they're connected with. So that's basically where we're at right at the moment. I have a call into the person who oversees those types of things, and I'll be following up with her next week to be able to say, hey, because they were traveling actually to conferences. So now that they're supposed to be back, I'll continue that conversation and see what we can do to be able to get some progress on being able to have that. Because obviously that would be a great benefit from a variety of ways. Number one, of course, it allows us another terrific source of art to be able to rotate in the gallery. But the other part is, of course, it would help strengthen the credibility of the project itself in terms of being a potential prototype that other towns might be able to adopt as a model to be able to bring more of the art from the local artists into the public view on a regular basis, and also to be able to have art that came from other sources also displayed that could help create more awareness and visibility to the art galleries that are within those states or vicinity. So that's the update on that. Any questions about that at all? Any thoughts or comments?
I'm going to now that we have the mural taken care of, I'm going to circle back on the brickwork on the wall.
That'd be great.
And see if I can start tightening down and getting some numbers to see where we're at with that.
That'd be great.
So I'll get Walter over there and walk him through the scope of work and see if I can get some numbers and we can at least have that ready to go and add it to all of the stuff as we prepare to present this.
Yeah, and the other thing in terms of this image is it also allows us to be able to, this photorealistic image will be a very good representation of exactly the area that is going to be painted as the background, and what's exposed brick and what's not. So, we can, be very focused on being able to make sure the repairs are done to the degree that's necessary to be able to make it look really nice.
Yeah.
And because there's some things on the way the wall is right now that, that you can't just paint over it and have it still look nice.
Right.
Some of that, some of the picture. So that was probably, the image. So that's great. Yeah, if you can let me know when that's, follow through, then we'll continue to collect that file information and keep moving forward. That's basically what I've got. Carol, anything that you have that?
Under the miscellaneous, the only thing about when we do meet next, that we're not going to be on Zoom, that would be in August.
Right.
Right.
So we'll meet in June, so we still can do one more of these.
Right.
Because the regular June is like July 15th. That's right, Amy, isn't it?
July 15th.
That's correct. And unless any changes are made by the governor to extend it, I mean, there's certainly a lot of support for continuing remote meetings. However, that would allow attendees to be able to dial in remotely, but there still needs to be a physical option for the meeting, and there needs to be a quorum of the committee in person. You should have gotten an email that I forwarded to everybody yesterday. So again, all of this is still being hashed out. So I will keep you posted. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility it could be extended, but I'm not sure I can't say for sure if it will be or not.
One of the things that I wanted to definitely emphasize is that number one is to make sure that you got the email from Amy that is describing the things that the select board has put together to be able to, as a draft, to be able to figure out, based on if the from the state, if it doesn't change in some way that addresses the need for the remote meetings and so on, that what would they put in place to be able to have guidelines around it. And I know it's it's a lot to read, but it's a very important thing at this point in time to really look at the details of what they're proposing and to understand what kind of restrictions there would be on committees and requirements that would be on the committees. Some of the details that I saw just in my first passage of the document was the fact that there was a great deal of emphasis on trying to be sure that every person that they were you would only basically connect remotely if absolutely necessary, and that you could only do that 4 times throughout the course of the year. When I was reading this, I was like, well,
Yeah.
I know how difficult it is for all of you to be able to, with your different work schedules and so on, to be able to attend the meetings as is. And I think my concern is that if they make it, we don't have the flexibility of being able to have, say, a regular hybrid model, meaning that myself or one of us were basically at a location where other people could dial into and participate remotely at the discretion of the committee member, not so as long as that they were all connected, we were able to meet. That my concern is that we will have people literally withdraw from the committees because having to travel to a fixed location to be able to do the, to attend the meeting on a basis consistent enough to be able to represent active participation within the committee, is very difficult. And I just think that, we want feedback from the rest of the, from the rest of the committee to be able to, not only among ourselves, and this is why it's very important to read this document to get your thoughts on this, but that we give the town feedback about how it would affect us if some of the details that are within this document were to be put in place as the option, and whether that would allow the people to, any of us to not be able to, I feel like we would have to withdraw from the committee because we could only attend, 2 or 3 or 4 meetings, in person, when we could have, had 9 or 10 where they could be, dialing in remotely and still actively participating. So,
But we also have, that with our group, we are 7, and it means we need 4 to vote on issues.
Right.
And I think that, I don't have a problem if people, with a good reason, continue on remotely if they can, if we can continue pretty much what we've been doing. But that's not.
how do other people feel about just about what I just described? And as I said, it's just a draft, so they it's not in stone, but you could see that the intent of the document was written
Right.
very much to drive as much towards the old version of meeting as possible. What, any quick thoughts? I know we're getting to at the end of our time here, but any just quick thoughts from any of you about what your feelings are about the potential changes?
Yeah.
Jessica?
Well, like I'm on Council on Aging, for example, and there are 11 of us there, but we need 8 there to be able to do anything, to make decisions. And if you can't make, if you don't meet 8 out of the 12 months, then you really are not expected to stay on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's obviously a big concern. We want people who are able to participate on a consistent basis. And,
yeah.
And we
I
want
mean, as I understand,
Go ahead,
oh,
Jen.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
As I understand it, the reasoning for the in-person meetings is so there'll be access to the public, right? I mean, so I'm thinking, why can't the public have access to the meetings through Zoom? I mean, it seems like that's what everyone's been doing for 2 years now.
I don't disagree with you. I think there is also consideration for people who do not have access to technology or prefer not to use it.
Mhm.
However, on the flip
Okay.
side of that, there is, there are people with different disabilities, and it's easier for them to be able to participate remotely. So I would highly encourage each of you, if you do have strong thoughts, you can forward it to me and I'll forward it on to the assistant town manager. And don't think that, being really candid about, how you feel about this is, that there's going to be any, points against you or that, anything like that. But this is an opportunity for your voices to be heard, for you to share. If you say, listen, it would be really logistically challenging for me to attend an in-person meeting based on, my work schedule or my family obligations or my health situation, whatever. And I would very much appreciate the opportunity to continue to participate remotely, because right now, the way it's written is that you have to have sort of almost an excused reason to participate remotely. You can't just say there's too much traffic or there's, it has to be sort of a legitimate reason. And quite honestly, as town staff, I don't want to be policing this, and I don't want to, I don't want to be a teacher and with reading the note from the parent saying this doesn't fly or this sounds okay. So we're all adults here, and we can all manage our time and logistics. So I would highly encourage you that if you want to either send it to me or send it directly to the assistant town manager, whose email I included in the email to each of you yesterday, just to be perfectly honest, because honestly, you'd be surprised how many people are thinking the same way that you are. And if they don't get a lot of feedback from folks, they may just say, well, everybody's okay with it. So
Yeah.
now's your opportunity to make your voices heard.
Yes. Agreed.
That's great. Yeah, ditto. Please, read through the details of it. Scratch a few notes as you're going through, and then, sort of, consolidate it into what your thoughts and, and direct, and what direct impact it might have on you in terms of being able to actively participate within the Revitalization Trust. Or actually, in fact, if any of you are on other committees or would plan to be on other committees, how would that influence your desire to be able to actually go out to join the committee? Because that's another important factor in all this, is that the restrictions on how you manage your time influence whether you decide to actually join a committee or not. And, and one of the concerns we want to make sure that we're trying to address is that we want to have, active participation by the community in these different town committees and organizations. So that's an important element. All right. And so, Carol, the date of the next meeting?
The date of the next meeting in June is June 23rd. And it's August, after that would be August 25th.
And as I said, no meeting in July. So you can all
See what,
go on vacation, do whatever you want to do.
Right.
No guilt. You're not missing anything. So, all right. Well, thank you. If there's any other final comments before we wrap it up?
no,
Well, then, do I have a motion to adjourn?
yes, I am.
All in favor?
I,
Chair is in favor. So we are officially adjourning for the May 26th, 2022 meeting of the Revitalization Trust Fund. And thank you all tremendously for the contributions that you're bringing to the committee and the cool stuff, because you're doing it, that we're going to continue to bring into the world and hopefully get enough help make the world a little bit better and more fun, because we came together to do the things that we do. So thanks
you're
so
a
much.
good call.
Everybody have a nice holiday weekend.
Yeah, great Memorial Day weekend.
Take
And
care.
thank you, Amy, for being
You, Amy, too.
the anchor of all these great things, and obviously have a great weekend, and hopefully you get to be relaxing without having to send out any emails or things like that. So,
Thanks, everyone.
all
See you
right,
next time. Bye-bye.
bye.